Hello everyone. So recently we shared a video on our house move. So everything went well and we moved from our previous accommodation to it was a rented place, and now this is a different rented place that we moved into, which is bigger than the previous one. So just quickly wanted to share some insights on how how to move your house in the UK and what all things to keep in mind when we move to a rented place, because not everyone would be aware. Like we when we moved first, so we were not aware of what things to keep in mind, and we didn't have the time and energy to go and look for and we didn't find any videos as well where all the information was shared. So apart from like getting information from some friends and relatives, so just wanted to share this information. So the first thing that you need to do when you move into a new rented place is to check your meter readings for your energy providers. So for example, if you have gas and electricity both, then it could be possible that there are two separate meters, or and it is also possible that you have one single meter for both gas and electricity. And sometimes some houses don't have gas at all, so it is just that they have the electric hob to cook food as well, and also electric heaters. So it depends on what type of energy is supplied to your house. So the first thing that you need to do is locate your meters in their property. So there are meters located sometimes inside the property, sometimes outside the property, and sometimes at an unreachable height. So it is also possible that meters are located really high, so you would need to find which are your meters for gas and electricity. And how do you do that is I first thing is, like, if your landlord shares that particular information, then it is well and good. But if not, then you would need to there is a website where there are several websites where you can just put your address and postcode, and it will show you what energy supplier is currently providing energy at your property. So you once you find out your energy supplier, you need to call them and share your details and inform that you have moved in to this property, and share the date from which you have moved in, date and time. If that's possible, then you would need to ask them what are the serial numbers for your electricity and gas meters. Once you have the serial numbers, you need to take the meter reading. So you can check with your suppliers, like how do you take the meter readings. Otherwise, you have several YouTube videos where you can see how do you take the meter readings for your energy meters. And you need to provide that meter reading to your energy supplier, because you will be charged from that particular date and time. And it is very important to know your meters, exact meters, because you don't want to pay for someone else's energy, right, what you have not used. So that is really important.
Okay, so we are going step by step. So as Abhishek mentioned about the meter readings, the next thing would be the inventory report. So why inventory report is important? Because it involves a fee, that is a deposit fee, which the letting agent may have charged you when you moved in the property. So it is a fee which you are eligible to get back when your tenancy ends, but it clearly depends on the condition of the property when you leave the property. So if you return it to the same condition when it was, you can get the deposit fee back. But if there is a certain damage or something is missing, the letting agent may deduct certain amount from the deposit fee. So this is why inventory report is very important. So what is an inventory report? It is a report where the letting agent mentions about the all the furniture and appliances which are in the property when you move into that property. So the thing that you have to do is you have to compare. When you move in, you have to compare all the furniture and the appliances that you see with the inventory report one by one. And if you find that certain appliances or the things are missing in the flat, apart from the, if you see it in the inventory report and you see that it is missing in the flat, you have to report that back to the letting agent, and you have certain time frame to do that. It depends on letting agent, so it differs with that. So with our letting agent, we had around 14 days to do this thing, but it differs. So, and also the second thing is, if you find that certain thing is damaged, so you can take a clear picture of that particular thing and you can send that picture to your letting agent to just make them aware that this was the condition of the property when you move in. So it does, you are not liable for any of the damage that is currently in the property. So this is why the inventory report is very important.
Right, so once the meter readings and the inventory report are done, which are the two most important things when you move in, so the next thing would be parking, because if you park while you are moving in and someone comes to check your parking permit, and if you don't have one, like, you could be fined up to 70 pounds, and you don't want that basically, because, and when you first move into your property, you won't have any parking permit. So, but yeah, generally it doesn't happen. Like, you can also put in a note when you move into a new street, like you have just moved in and you will be applying for a parking permit, and generally the permit checkers are generous enough to read the note and just leave you for a day or a week, so that you can, in between, you can sort your parking permit. And this is what we did for a few days when we applied for a new parking permit. And this will be only applicable if you have a car, and for which, like, generally you would need a UK driving license, which is another extensive topic for some other day. So let's discuss about the parking permit, assuming you already have a car. So when you first move in, so there are different types of parking permits. Because we live in Cardiff, so there would be Cardiff Council that would be responsible for giving us the parking permit. And different councils have different rules for applying the parking permit. I think some of the councils might provide you a parking permit for multiple locations, but for us this was not the case. So our previous parking permit was expiring at the end of September, and we moved in at the start of August. So we still had a few months left on our previous parking permit, and it was £12 for 6 months at our previous property, and we had the permit to park in 5 or 7 streets near our previous property. But for this particular property, it was not the same case. So what we had to do was call the council and inform that we have moved our house and we would need a new parking permit. So the process was that we need to cancel our previous parking permit, which had a few months left. So we can also request for a refund, for example, if you have a lot of months left. But then for our case, like, it was not sensible to ask for a refund, because it had a £5 administration fee, like, which was not sensible to give, because it was only 1 or 2 months left for the parking permit to expire. So what we did was we just asked them to cancel our previous parking permit and request a new parking permit. So for the current property, it was a parking permit that allows to park only on this street. So for example, I cannot park on the next street or the street before or any other street apart from my own street. And some properties might have their own parking space, for example a driveway or their own parking spot. So for that you won't require a permit. This permit is only required for parking on the street. So you would need to call your council basically, and inform that you have moved address, and if they allow you to have a new permit without cancelling the old one, then you can do so as well. That way you can have the option to park at a different place as well if you are not finding any place. If you are in the same city or in the same locality, that would be only applicable. If you are moving into a different city, then obviously there is no point in having two parking permits. And talking about council, so as I mentioned, you need to call the council for your parking permit. So council is basically a government body. Like in India, we have the municipality where you need to register yourselves, like if you are moving to a new area or if you are buying a house or something. So same way here, the council handles everything. For example, like picking of the garbage. So every week the garbage is picked up by the council. They make sure of the cleanliness around the locality. Also the parking permits and all sorts of the local stuff that we need to do when we move into a new house. So that is managed by the council. Okay, so talking of council, when you move to a new address, whether it is in the same city, same locality, or whether you are moving to a completely different city, you need to register yourselves in the council, and you don't need to deregister yourself from the previous council because that would be automatically done when you register yourself into a new council, or if you register yourself to a new address. So that is automatically transferred over to your new address, whatever is applicable to your old address. And to register yourself at the council, you just need to give them a call and inform that you have moved into a new address, and if there are any other occupants as well with you, you can also share their information that they have moved in with you, so that they know like how many people have moved from one place to the other. And the council also has a council tax, so which is like a amount that we need to pay each month for all these services that they provide. So for example, repairing of the roads, the cleanliness they maintain, the garbage collection, etc. So when they do all these things, so you would need to pay a council tax each month. So every person who is earning needs to pay the council tax, but that depends on whether they are living with a student or whether they are living alone, like a single occupant. So there are certain exemptions that apply, so which would be mentioned on the website, or you can ask them when you call the council. You can just confirm like if you are applicable for any exemption or not. Even if you are not, if you are paying zero council tax, you still need to register to the council just to inform that you are living at that particular property and you are exempt from paying the council tax. So you need to inform them that you have moved house even if you are not paying any council tax.
Okay, so the next thing would be about the energy suppliers. So once you have found that who is your energy supplier, like in the inventory report or as informed by your landlord, or you can, as previously mentioned, you could check directly on the website by entering the postcode, like who is the energy supplier for that particular property. So once you have found that, after that you have to check with your landlord or letting agent that are you allowed to change the supplier, or maybe change the if you are not allowed to change the supplier, maybe you are allowed to change the plans. So once you have confirmed that, and if you are allowed to change the supplier, what you could do is there are several websites where you could just enter certain details and find out that who is the cheapest supplier for you for that particular property. So one of that website is uswitch. I will mention the link of the website in the description box, and you could go to that website and enter certain details. For example, the postcode, how many people are living in the property, how many appliances you have. For example, is there a dishwasher or a washing machine in the property, all sort of things. So there will be a couple of questionnaire and you have to answer that, and once you have done that, they will give you a list of certain suppliers which is best for your property, and you could choose from them. So you could compare different rates for different suppliers. For example, there would be tariff rates, there would be also standing charges. So what are standing charges is basically the charges which are charged to supply the electricity or gas from a certain point to your home. That is a standing charge. So you could compare the standing charge of different suppliers. It varies from supplier to supplier, and also the tariff rates, and you could choose the best supplier for your property. And the second thing would be about the smart meter. So it depends for the electricity and gas. If the property doesn't have a smart meter, so what is a smart meter is the supplier gets the readings of your property automatically through the smart meter. But if you don't have the smart meter, you have to manually give the readings time to time to the supplier, so that you are not charged more basically. So if you don't have a smart meter, it is advisable that you could just contact the supplier and you could ask them that, like, if you can get a smart meter or not. That is beneficial for you. Okay, so the next thing is about the water. So the same thing applies as I mentioned about the gas and electricity. So if you are eligible to change the supplier of the water, you could check the rates on the website as I mentioned, like whichever is the cheaper option for you. But it was not in our case. We only had one supplier, and so what you could do is, if you could change the supplier, or if you could not, doesn't matter. You could call that supplier and you can mention about what is your usage. For example, does the property has washing machine or dishwasher, how many people live in the property, and depending upon your usage, they will give you a bill for your agreement. And if you find that if the bill is quite expensive, if it is, then what you could do is you could find out if the property has a water meter. So if the property doesn't have a water meter, you could request that to the supplier. So you could again call them and ask that you are finding that the bill is quite expensive and you want a water meter to be installed at your property. So what they will do is they will schedule an appointment for you, and one of the representatives will come to your property to check if the water meter can be installed at your property or not. If it can be installed, it is okay. But if not, what they will do is, so they will give you a reduced charges because they can't install water meter. So they will reduce the charges as per your usage. And then again, if you again find that the charges is more for you, you could request them. But it is quite okay if you just call them and mention that this is our usage and we want our bill to get down. So they will do it for you, the best that they could do for you. So,
and coming to the final part of this video is Wi-Fi, which is, I won't say it's not important, because if you are working from home, unlike us, we don't work from home generally, so we don't need a Wi-Fi at this moment. But at our previous property we did have Wi-Fi, and it was quite useful when we had to work from home. But for Wi-Fi, you would need to check at the same website whether you are getting a good deal for the Wi-Fi. So generally the plans for Wi-Fi start from £25 and goes up to I guess about 100 or something. I don't know the high level of the price, but then generally it starts from £25 a month at this point. So this is in August 2024. So for installing Wi-Fi, like, it's a very simple process. You just need to find out which deal you are finding the best on the website, and if that particular provider is providing internet to your locality or not. Because even if you are finding a good deal, it could be possible that that particular provider is not supplying internet to your property. so you would need to call your internet provider for that. So we had Virgin Media as our internet provider previously. So it's a simple process. You just, once you decide what plan you want to get, you just need to call your internet provider, and they will send someone to install the Wi-Fi unit at your property. And one thing to note is that sometimes the internet providers have 18 months of contract, and your tenancy would end in 12 months. So mostly each provider has a early exit fee if you wanna end the contract before your actual contract end date. So for example, if you have a 12 months tenancy and you are moving out after 12 months, then the remaining 6 months from the 18 months contract, you would be applicable to pay early exit fees, which is almost the same as paying the actual 6 months amount that you haven't used at all. So that you would need to check with your internet provider, because one thing that you can do to save yourself from the early exit fee is that when you move your property, you can ask them to check if they can move the same service to the next property that you are moving in. Or if that's not possible at all, like if you are leaving the country or something like that, then you would need to like come to a conclusion with your internet provider that how the exit fees would be managed, because you don't want to be paying the extra amount for what you have not used. So it is better to check with them before you decide to go with one of the um internet providers. So that is very important to check, because it's basically when you move into a property, when you get a new connection, it is very easy to get that. But like when you move out and you want to exit from your plan, like there are certain charges that you certainly don't want to be paying. So that is one major thing to check for the internet providers. And that is it basically for the internet providers. So this is all we had to share regarding setting up utilities when you rent in UK. Please let me know if there are any additions or corrections to this. Let me know down in the comments so that it can help other users who are watching this video. And see you in the next one.